Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to develop an API which basically you are going to use for the streaming of any of your video file like byte by byte range. Okay. So before we start, what I have did is I have already created one project and I have imported in my IntelliJ. If you are not aware about this, then you can check out our channel. So we have this video over here. I'm going to put the link of this video in the description so you can go and check this out. And also we have plenty of projects which is available. You can go and build it yourself or you can purchase from us. So we have a lot of like Spotify, Netflix and other many more is coming. Okay. So by following this, you can create the project and you can import over here. So what I'm going to demonstrate or develop into this one, let me quickly demonstrate that. So I'm going to go over here, go to this one, and let me clear this. So I've already called the API, my backend is already running. So I have added one of my own video. So if I play this, or if I reload this quickly just to show you, here you can see this, it called once, and now I'm going to seek this for a certain byte, and here you can see this is calling the API again and again with a different bytes range. So you can see over here, this is for a different byte range. So if I call this, then again it will call many times, just reading the certain bytes. And how this one is working, I'm going to develop the whole API for this one. So let's quickly jump back and start with the development. So let me quickly minimize this, move back over here. So already everything project is created. So first thing we need is nothing but a utility class. So let me quickly click on this new package. I will create a folder utils, and into this one I will add file handler. Utils. In this one we will keep the method which will basically be used to create or like to fetch the file in range by range. Okay. So in this one, first thing what we have to do is we have to create one static method. So public static, and this is going to return a resource type of org-springframework.co.io, and this is going to return create range resource. And in this one, we will accept our path, that is nothing but a file path, which path or which stuff you want to read, and the range start from where you want to read, and the long range length. And this might throw IO exception if file doesn't found, if you have passed any wrong name or something of the file, then it can throw this. Okay, so before we jump into this, let me quickly move back over here, and into this one I will create one folder that is nothing but uploads. So in that particular one, I'm going to add all of the files. So with the name uploads I have created, and in the uploads I'm going to add a test file or test video file which I have already. So I'm going to add into this one, the one which you have seen right now. So I've added one test.mp4. So let's quickly move back over here and let me quickly minimize this so that we can get a good room in order to see this. There is a spelling mistake, so yeah. Next thing what we have to do is we have to open a file in read-only mode with the random access capability, allowing seeking to any position in the file. Okay. So for that, what we have to do is we have to simply create a random access file object. Random access file reader is equal to new random access file, and to this one we will pass the file path dot to field, and then we will open this in read mode. This path has been imported from the NO file. Okay. Okay, this is not pro, this is pros, that's why it's showing an exception. And here this is now this issue is gone. So this is to file. Okay, and I've opened this in read. Next thing what we have to do is we have to move file pointer to the starting position of the requested range. So how we will do that? File reader dot seek, and to this one we will pass range start from where I have to start. Okay. Next thing what we have to do is we have to create a custom input stream that reaches a specified range. So what we have to do is we have to create the input stream partial content stream is equal to new input stream, and when we click this one, this is the interface, so it will give us a method to override this. Okay, so into this one by default we have one method read which is compulsory to implement, but anyway this is not going to be called. This is an abstract method which is available, so we have to give it an implementation. Okay, so into this one, first thing we will define a variable to track how many bytes have been read so far. So private long total bytes read is equal to 0, and into this one we will simply check if we have read all requested bytes. So we will check if total bytes read is greater than equal to range length, then what we will do is we will simply file reader dot close and we will return -1. If this is not the case, then total bytes read plus, and into this one what we will return is file reader dot read. Close this. Next thing what inside this one we have to do is we have to override another method which will accept buffer, offset, length, and on the basis of it will be returning byte stuff. Okay, so let me override public int read, and with this one we are going to accept byte array. This is nothing but buffer, then int offset, int length, and this will throws IO exception. Okay, so what it will do is reads multiple bytes into a buffer for efficient streaming. This is the primary method used by Spring when streaming context to the client. Okay, and in the first thing what we are going to do is we are going to check if total bytes read is greater than equal to range length. It will check if we have already read all the requested bytes. If this is the case, then what we will do is we will simply close the file editor and we will signal that okay, this is the end of the stream. So how will it signal? By simply returning -1. Okay, if this is not the case, then what we are going to do is we are going to calculate how many bytes are left to read in the stream. So we will make some space over here. So long remaining bytes is equal to range length minus total bytes read. Next thing what we have to do is we have to read only up to the remaining bytes left. Okay, suppose we have bytes left is only 100, but UI is passing suppose there's 1900 more. Then we don't have to do that. We have to read in the limit what the file exists. Okay. So int bytes to read is equal to, we will typecast this to int type, int, this is math min, and to this one we will pass length and we will pass remaining bits. So whichever is min is going to be the returned over here. Okay, bytes to read. Next thing what we have to do is, after we got this bytes to read, what we have to do is we have to perform the actual read from the file. So int, what we will do is bytes actually read is equal to file reader dot read, and into this one we will pass the buffer, and we will pass the offset, and we will pass the bytes to read. Okay. Now we got the actual file. Next thing we have to do is update the total bytes read so far. So we have to update into this one, total bytes. Okay. So now we got over here, and if bytes actually read is greater than 0, then what we will do is we will simply do total bytes read plus equal to bytes actually read, and this will add to the existing one. Next thing what we have to do is we have to check if total bytes read is greater than or equal to range length. Then what we will do is we will simply close the file reader. So file reader.close. So over here what we are doing is close the file if we have read everything in the file. Okay. And next thing what we will do is we will simply return over here, return bytes actually read. Next thing what we have to do is close the file reader and release the system resources. Okay, so for that we have to override the close method over here. So override and public void close throws IO exception, and to this one we will simply call file reader.close. Okay, now this one is closed. Let me quickly close over here so that this stream is off. This input stream, which is done. Inside this, next thing what we have to do is we have to simply return a new input stream resource. What we are trying to do is wrap the custom input stream in string resource with the explicit content length. So into this one, what is the length? Is partial content stream, and into this one now finally we are going to wrap it up. So for that what we have to do is we have to simply override one method. So override which one? That is nothing but content length. So public long content length, and this will simply return range length. Okay. And what we have to do is we have to simply close it over here. So now our method is ready to create a resource, range resource. Okay. So over here we are calculating in the red, we have already read the stuff, then we will close it, then we are calculating the remaining stuff, then we are calculating bytes to read, whichever is greater, whichever is minimum, we are going to take that up, and then we are reading the actual file, then we are increasing the value of total bytes read, performing the operation on the basis of it. So this is the file handler utils is ready. Next thing what we have to do is we have to create a controller. So in this one, just to keep things sorted, what I am going to do is I'm going to put all the business logic in the controller itself, but you can segregate it the service in the service class. So let's quickly move back and then create a package for the controller. Hit enter. Into this one, I'm going to create a class that is nothing but file controller, and hit enter. Into this one, first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one stereotype annotation that is just controller, just to mark this class as a controller class, and the bean of this one will be managed by the IOC container. Next thing, I'm going to add a request mapping on this top of this, just to define the path at the class level. So API/file. Next thing, I'm going to add the package. I'm going to declare a variable where my file exists. So private static final string. You are going to, if you want a dynamic stuff, then you can get this file from the application of properties. Okay. I'm just going to demonstrate through the hard coding this one, because our purpose over here is to show you how the streaming works. Okay. Directory is equal to this uploads slash. So our folder name is uploads, if you see over here, and this is at the same directory level, so we can directly access it. Okay. Next thing, into this one, I'm going to declare one get mapping. So at the rate get mapping, and with this one, I'm going to give it a path that is stream file. Give it a file name, which I'm going to accept. So our file name is test.md4 that we're going to pass over here. So public response entity, and into this one it's going to return a resource from this one orgspring.co.io. This is a stream file, and this one we will accept @path variable, and the path variable I'm going to accept the file name, so string file name. This name and this name needs to be same. Okay. Next thing what we are going to do is we are going to get the file range in the request headers. Make sure this needs to be in header because browser call while passing the range in the header automatically. You don't need to be responsible for doing that. If you declare this in request param or any other path variable, then it won't work. Okay. In this one, value is equal to http headers dot range, and into this one required is equal to false and string range header. Let's quickly open the curly braces. Into this one, first thing we will put all of these code in a try catch block because these are risky code. So catch, either you can grab the exception, or you can grab the IO exception or the number format exception. These are the most probably exception which can ever be thrown. Okay. So over here, if these are the two cases, then we will return response entity dot status, http status dot internal server error dot build. You can handle the exception in a very graceful way, or you can do like this. Okay, so we forgot to declare the name over here for this one. So let's quickly declare this as a string name. This is a file name. By mistake, I guess we have deleted it. So let me quickly minimize this left part. So it's showing an error because we haven't written any piece of code which is actually throwing, or it can throw IO exception. So once we start typing, it will be fixed automatically. So first thing what you have to do is we have to construct the full file path. For that, we have to create the object of path. File path is equal to paths dot get. Into this one, we will pass the file directory which we have created plus the file name, whatever we got. Next thing what we have to do is we have to check if file exists or not. So if not files dot exists, then what we will do is into this one we have to pass the file path. If this is the case, if it doesn't exist, then we will simply return and response entity dot status with http status dot not found dot build. Next thing what we have to do is we have to get the file size and detect the content type. So move back over here and we will declare a variable long file size, and into this one files.size, and in this one we will pass the file path. Next thing, we will detect the content type. The string content type is equal to files.prob context type, and to this one we will pass the file path. Next thing what we have to do is we have to check fallback to generic binary stream if content type cannot be determined. Okay, so if content type is equal to null, then content type is equal to media type dot application octal stream value. This one you have to select. If I press Control and click on this, it will go over here and it will show application octal / stream. So we are going to return this as a file. Next thing, we will check in the header if we have a request header or not. So if request header in the header we have a range header or not the request header. So range header is equal to null or range header is empty, in this scenario, what we want to do? We will return the full file. If you want to handle this scenario or if you want to throw the exception, you can do as per your choice, because we have given it as a required as false. So user can pass the without range, it can call this specific one. Okay. So we will create a resource object over here. Resource is equal to file handler utils dot create range resource. We will pass the file path, we will pass the 0, and we will pass the whole file range. That is the file size. Then it will return, we will get the whole file. We will simply return our response entity dot OK, and it will return. We will set the content type. Into this one, we will set the media type dot parse media type. To this one, we will pass the content type dot content length. So this one we will set the file size. Then we will set the headers. So in the header we will set http headers dot accepted range accept range in the bytes. And finally, we will send the body, we will send the resource. Next thing, if you want to get the stuff like suppose you have passed the range start and end. So into this one, we will create a string array. Range is equal to range headers dot replace. And into this one, as you have seen in the initial demonstration, that it passes like this. Bytes is equal to, then it will pass the value. Will replace this with the double quotes, and we will split on the basis of dash. So it passes like bytes is equal to whatever it will put the value, then dash, then another second value. Now we got the range. Then long range start is equal to long dot parse long. This one we will put from range. And into this one at the 0th index, whatever the value is, that is the range start. Next, long range end is equal to range dot length is, we were going to check if this is greater than 1 or not. So greater than 1, and not range dot index first dot is empty. If this is the case, then what we will do is we will simply return this by passing it. So pass long range index first, else we will return file size -1. Okay, now we will validate the requested range. So if range start is less than 0 or range end is less than 0 or range start is greater than file size -1 or range end is greater than file size -1 or range start is greater than range end. If any of these conditions found, it means that they have passed the valid range, either the start one or the end one. So in that scenario, we will return an response entity dot status, and with this one we will pass http status dot requested range not satisfiable, and we will set the header. Into the header we will set http headers dot content range, and we will return the bytes star slash and the file range or the file size, and then finally we will return the body as null because we don't have any resource open over here. Next thing, finally what we have to do is we have to calculate the length of the content to return. So long range length is equal to range end minus range start plus 1. Then we will simply create the resource object. So resource is equal to, and we will call the file handler utils which we have created, and we will pass create range resource, file path, range start, and range length. And let me quickly return. So return and response entity dot status, and into this one we will pass HTTP status. It means that we are going to return a partial content. So this is a partial content. Then content type is nothing but media type dot parse media type. Into this one we will pass a content type, and we will set the content length so that for the next call it can be used. So range length. Then we will set in the headers that what is the content range and what is the total file size. So content range, in the headers we will set the HTTP headers dot content range, then bytes, we will make some space, plus range start, plus we will put the dash over here, plus range end, plus slash, plus file size, and another header which we have to return is accepted types is bytes. So HTTP headers dot accepted range is nothing but bytes. And finally we will make the end with the body, and it also will pass the resources. So over here we got the resource, that the partial one, and then we have created a stuff that is going to be returned with the all of the status and all of the types. So let me quickly start this application. So back over here and let's test this. Before starting, if I go over here and if I try to access this, you can see you will get the error. Okay, so my backend is not running. So let me quickly move back over here. Let me start the application, run the application main. So I have already added a test file over here. So our application is up and started at port 8080. So move back over here. Let me quickly start this. Before I jump into this, I'm going to type some random file name. Try to hit enter. So you can see this local host page cannot be found. Over here you can see this file, the response. Headers, you can see 404 not found, the exception which we are throwing. Now let me fix the name. So our file name is test.mp4. So let me delete this one and try to hit enter. So you can see this, we call this one and we got the first file, then the second file, it's returning at 206, that is a partial content. Let me seek over here, you can see this another partial content is called. If I seek back, it will vary to a different location, and it's working very easy, right? So that's all for this video, guys. This specific completed stuff you can use for the different purpose, like in the Netflix clone, you can use in the Amazon, any videos, file like your video, YouTube clone, or you are making any Amazon Prime, any such type of application, you can use this specific stuff. So thanks for watching. Do like, subscribe, and put your valuable comments in the comment section. Thanks for watching.